Something started today. Where did he go? What you want it to be? Well, you know November has come when it's gone away. Today is November 1st. The first day of November. All Saints' Day. The first day to Dias de los Muertos. Whatever you may celebrate or take note of. And yes, there's also the other No Nut Day. There's that. But regardless of you not eating any peanuts, that's neither here or there. Today marks the first day of November. And today marks a very important date. If you remember, I said if we didn't get anything before this date ends, I might end the series. Well, just so happens after I released that video, we had the update. So we're in a good timeline. But that's not really why I'm making this video. You see, something else I made not mentioned, but it was important. When the update hit it, there was also something else I was looking at. They've made a new system in place. And this whole thing was what they were working up to. This is why we had no new stuff for 6 long months. So did it pay off? Well, today was the date that we find out. This is when all the month content gets roughly estimated of exactly how much things, like how things are downloaded, how much they made, roughly. And well, it worked! It's alive! It's alive! This game's alive again! Yes. It did successfully. In fact, it did better than Adams. How good exactly? Well, first of all, it was probably the most downloaded game out of the 3, about 10K, for both Android and iOS. But the more important thing is that Adams and Goosebumps made exactly the same money, except Goosebumps made 1K more than Adams did. So let me rephrase that. This game made more money by a small margin, but still made more money than Adams did. I think we're in a good timeline. I believe we are now moving into the game's revival. The game's back alive, baby. And yes, it's 2.0. It's not the same as it once before. This new system might not, a lot of people might not like it, but there are some who do. And, you know, this ended up working. So, yeah, this was an inevitability, but it's here now. But hey, regardless of that, that's not the only thing we're talking about in this video. No, this also marks something else too. I believe this video will be the last time I do something like this, because I think moving forward, we might be getting more content updates, so there's less time of nothing. So there's no more filler stuff. Not only that, but there's also something to go ahead about. So, the guy who's directing this content, he's not really as talkative as other people are. I mean, he does talk every now and then, but it's not as very much open to other people that I've talked to before. So, yeah, it's a little bit like, you know, everyone's different, right? But regardless, I have contacted him again, so I did get some art assets, so that's good. But I feel like I don't want to bug him, so I'll leave him to it. Because of this, he may not be able to tell me exactly what might be popping in. And they haven't been doing teases anymore. I don't know if they start doing posts or whatnot. That might end up happening again, because now they've gotten revenue. But I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But regardless of that, one of the important things is what now? What comes after this update ends? I have a theory of what that might be. Now, will this game have monthly updates as far as event stuff goes. I think eventually they might end up doing that because it makes them more profit at the end, and it would be stupid not to do that. But for now, I don't think that's what's going to end up happening. They may not even do that. They might actually just end up doing like the Simpsons Tapped Out approach, where it's like 1 month off, 1 month on. So months like February, April, June, August, October, and December being the big months with the events. And then the other 6 months are the waiting around, kind of like relaxing period. So during those relaxing periods, that's when we usually see the special books, because that doesn't take a whole lot of time and stuff to do. Now, the important reason I mentioned the special books is because these new systems in place that they do this update, I think is addressing this as well. I think they've made these updates, they're going to make these events to the sole point of being able to resell it to you again in the future as special books. That's why we have a special book icon. That's why we get like a statue prize near the tail end. It's just stuff to think about when it comes to adding stuff later on down the road. That's what I think is going on here. So, now comes the speculation time. When I think is going to go on here and what I think is coming up next. But, before we do that, briefly, give me 1 second. Sorry, I had to clear my throat. It was bugging me. Anyways, regardless of that, one of the important things we have to talk about is what I think is coming up next. Now, moving forward, this is going to be hard for me to kind of decide to do, because whether either they tell us through the groups, tease, or they tell it publicly, or I end up getting told through the director himself. He'll actually contact me and say, hey, this is what's coming up next. That gives me a heads up, so that way I'm able to kind of do these teases. But I feel like I don't know, and I'm going in the dark here. But I have a theory of what it might be. But again, take this with a grain of salt. This may not end up happening. Lord knows, I don't know anything. But I'm going to give a good educated guess from what I think might be the best, or might be the most plausible option. So here's my theory. I believe coming up next in November, we're getting a special book. I believe the special book is going to be that of Chicken Chicken. The reason I say this is because there is an art asset already made for the book. Plus, it's November. That's usually Turkey Thanksgiving Day. That's usually what they celebrate around this time. And this was the only book that's technically the only Thanksgiving update we ever got. So it would make sense for them to do that book during this time, and it has a lot more stuff and they can sell for a higher price. So, you know, and also gives them enough time to work on for the next update coming up, which I believe they're going to do for December. Now, as far as December goes, that could be anything. Now, we know it's going to be somewhat holiday special related, but the other thing too is, as we've been seeing lately, books due to holiday restrictions are not limited. So recently, right now, Trapped in the Circus of Fear isn't a Halloween book, but they turn into a Halloween update. Now, this will probably be something of similar when they do something related to the Christmas, like do something related to that holiday. But it may not be focusing on that. It will probably be focusing on the book. Now, as far as what book it's going to be, I think I know what it is. If you remember last year, when I made my Winter Wonderland video, I made mention of something that I believe what was going on. And I may have teased a bit of what was coming up. But as we all know, that didn't turn out as planned as we wanted. Yeah, let's just say things happened. The other two games had issues, and well, one was more important than the other, so... But we didn't get lost with anything. They did give us something in the form of like little updates with little decorations. So it was something. Wasn't everything, but it was something. But I digress. Regardless of that, I believe during this time, before this whole thing happened, he was planning on having this book be the next update for Event 28. But as we all know, that didn't happen, and we end up getting Bride. But, you know, now we're going to Event 30. And I believe Event 30, it was going to be what Event 28 was supposed to be. So I think that's what's going to end up happening here. And it would make the most sense. My wish list is that we hopefully get snow on the ground. But something tells me that's probably long gone and we're never going to get that again. Chances are we're probably going to get snow on the houses again, like what's going on with Theo. And probably if we're lucky, we might end up getting some interesting decor down below. Like they basically made a new asset for the winter, like a promenade into a winter wonderland area. Something tells me that they had that already planned to go on for this update, but you know, because things happen, they couldn't use it, so they just reused the asset and be like, yeah, here you go. You know, it's snowy. You know, in the Horrorland Carnival. Just don't think about it. But what I think they're gonna be reusing that asset. So the promenade is gonna be all winterfied, and I believe this is where the book is gonna be taking place. And I believe what they're gonna be doing is I'm thinking they already made some assets with this already. But they're probably going to be changing it slightly and adding some more stuff to it for this new event style. So, that's what I think is going on. I believe that's going to be the book. I'm not going to tell you what it is per se, what I think it is, because I could be wrong and I could be looking like an idiot. And I don't want to be saying what it is and being like, well, that sucked. And that would be like in the future update. But I believe this is probably going to be the most logical case of what's going to end up happening. That's my theory anyways. But, yeah. So I think that's going to be the book that's coming up. If you are curious what it is, though, look back at that video. Or better yet, just look back in the past and see if I made any hints regarding certain things, because that might give you a clue of what it might end up being. But, yeah. All I will say is that this book ended up being the popular choice, just like how Trapped in the Circus of Fear was a popular choice in my channel. So chances are this is probably the next book he's working on. Because he had read it, so he knows what the event is about. He probably has something to kind of add to it. Because it seems like he knows what he's doing. Now then, that's my theory of what's going on happening. I still don't know what's going on. So what I think is going to happen is, once this update's finish, we'll have a little bundle that basically says, here's this, like, I think it's Circus Abomination pack. And they'll have a few, like, maybe a week, right? Oh, here's a week to get this last kind of thing to fit with your circus, right? So I think once that's done, I think that's when they'll put in the in-patch update for the book. And then when the book timer's done, that's when we'll get the Christmas update. Sometime in December. I believe it's going to be after the other two games are hit. And if that event does well, like this one did, then there's no doubt in my mind that they'll probably start doing like monthly updates as far as new content stuff goes. And they'd probably be doing a book alongside those updates, so it's probably going to be like within the battle pass or something. I don't know. That's possible that might happen, but I'm not 100% sure. But that's my theory anyways. I'm happy this game's back. I'm glad more content's coming up. So long as there's no Sony/Scholastic shenanigans, we should be all good. Alright, so hopefully this is a no second wind of life. Thank God everything's good. And yeah, let's go on and continue. So I've been Grim, and I'll be seeing you next time for hopefully event 30, whatever that might be. Until then, speaking of, before I leave, that Goosebumps show, man, did a lot of people divide on that one.